today. I'll pass to Danielle to introduce herself as well.
Yes. Hi, my name is Danielle. I am a school partnerships manager here with Nearpod. I'm super happy to be with you guys today. I work with schools all across Southern California. So we are really excited to join this event and really appreciate you guys joining our breakout room. And please feel free to ask any questions. I will be trying my best to answer them in the chat. And we hope you guys enjoy.
Yay. Okay. So I see that I feel like everybody's in the Nearpod because there's about 11 of us in here and I see that the number is 11. So go ahead and take a look at my shared screen here. If you are new to Nearpod, that's okay because we're going to show you some of the key features of Nearpod today. We are in a interactive Nearpod lesson right now. You joined via this code, but there's a million other ways to join. My students used to have join.nearpod.com bookmarked on their Chromebooks. That is until we got Google Classroom, and then I pushed it out with one additional click of a button. But we have awesome integrations that make it super easy for you to push material out to students and really easy for them to access. So thank you all so much for joining. I see in the bottom right-hand corner of my teacher dashboard, all of the participants. And so I really appreciate you taking the time and spending your evening with us. We're going to talk more about virtual manipulatives in our newest program, Nearpod Math. So one thing that I wanted to get a feel for really quickly is how familiar y'all are with Nearpod. And so we have one of our favorite polls here. I'm a Nearpod Pro. I'm somewhat familiar. I am not yet familiar. And as you know, if you are familiar with the Nearpod, that I'm currently on that student toggle, which really allows me to, model for students, talk through the learning. And then when I toggle over to teacher, I'm able to see all of the responses in real time. And notice that I can go ahead and quickly toggle on and off names here using that little eyeball function in the bottom right-hand corner, right? So I'm getting a lot of, I'm not yet familiar, I'm somewhat familiar. No worries, we're going to explore Nearpod today together in the kind of lens of Nearpod Math. So just a little bit about Nearpod that you should definitely know is that, it's a two-way street of communication, right? So you just communicated with me about your knowledge of Nearpod. I'm getting that real-time data as the teacher, that real-time formative assessment so that I can go ahead and make those instructional decisions, right? If I didn't see anybody in that C column, I wouldn't have had this conversation. I would have just moved right forward, that responsive teaching. Great ways that you can involve students in the data as well. So for example, when I go ahead and click this share button, I want you to take a look at your Nearpod screen, right? Which shows that pie chart of our class data to you, and it will be live updated as your classmates answer. So we can have discussions about, what our classmates are saying in addition to kind of the view that we hold, right? So this is one of our most popular features, but there are a ton more. Some of the favorites are a Draw It, where you can kind of live edit a PDF using pen, highlighter, text. We have our drag and drop, which is really, we'll get to experiment with that today too. And then in addition to our drag and drop, we have so many more, but my personal favorite is the time to climb, which is a kind of a gamified quiz where students will select their own avatar and compete with their classmates. So truly, when you think about Nearpod, I want you to be thinking about this interactive lessons, interactive videos, and really awesome activities and games that can not only engage students, but allow you as the teacher to kind of have this superpower and that you have that insight into their responses at your fingertips. Okay, so just to show you a little bit more about Nearpod Math, right? We have this, of course, burden as math teachers that there are so many choices when we are choosing what math supplements to bring into the classroom, right? I was getting to school, of course, before the sun would come up, and I loved my core curriculum. But the reality is that I was probably sifting through 10, 12 additional websites. So Nearpod is an awesome, and I'm going to go ahead and share my screen in my Nearpod platform. So make sure you're looking at my shared screen right now. Nearpod is a great platform to supplement your core curriculum. Just to show you around a little bit, Nearpod is a great composition of materials you can author yourself, right? So this is my library here, and I can create lessons, I can create videos, and I can create activities. I can do that in the Nearpod platform or in Google Slides if you're more comfortable in Google Slides, or, which is how I got my start in Nearpod, you can start in the library. So this library contains tens of thousands of resources that our team, our Nearpod curriculum team has created. And there are amazing ways to search for those resources. So what I would recommend to y'all is to filter by standard, right? And to take a look here and look at all of the different state standard alignments we had. You would choose, of course, California, since we're talking math today, math, right? And you can select any grade level and all of the domain areas that are appropriate for what you're looking for, right? So if I wanted to see all of the measurement and data resources, you would see this here. Now, these are all available for instantaneous use, or you can customize them. So this is that Nearpod library experience. And a lot of math teachers have dabbled in these resources, right? There are lessons here, there are activities here, there are videos here, and you just kind of have to continue to scroll a bit to find what you're looking for. Now, what you'll notice over here, and maybe what's drawing your attention, is that there's a program, right, entitled Nearpod Math right here. So that's brand new to Nearpod. It's our first supplemental curricular resource. And that is basically a curriculum that lives inside Nearpod, right? So we're going to talk today about how you can use some of the tools from this program. And then if you're liking what you see, we want to get y'all a trial so you can try it out. Okay, so just a little bit about what Nearpod Math is, right? That program inside Nearpod. There's a ton of resources here. There are problem-based lessons, mini lessons, virtual manipulatives. This is going to be the star of the show today. And then we also have games, practice, interactive videos. Really, we want this to be a one-stop shop for teachers so that you don't have to go to one website to get a center. You don't have to go to a second website to find a game. You can come into your Nearpod account, right? You can select math, and then you can find everything you're looking for right here. So just to show you around a little bit, it's really nicely organized. So if I were to go into, grade 5 and look for the measurement and some topics here, you can see that the breakdown is really nice and easy to navigate. So you'll see if I look in finding volume, we have different sections. So unit cubes and volume, expressions for finding volume, and volumes of solid figures. And then the organization is really nice. As you can see, comparatively to that Nearpod library, everything is bundled up. So if I click into volumes of Prism's drawings here, it's going to lead us right into a topic bundle. So these bundles are organized into instructional materials and practice materials, and will basically map some additional materials here if your school has English learners, SEL, or vocabulary. Now, that's just the most basic overview of the organization that we can really do here, but do know that what you can find in Nearpod Math is a variety of resources. With this time, we're really going to hone in on virtual manipulatives, right? That's a great tool that we have that is exclusive to Nearpod Math. So I would love to hear from y'all just a little bit using one of our collaborate boards. How do you currently, cut off a little bit. How do you currently use manipulatives, right? Do you use more concrete manipulatives? Do you use more virtual manipulatives? Do you have any favorite websites that you use to engage students with manipulatives? And just share that here. So for example, I had so many concrete manipulatives. They were gifted to me by a retiring teacher. So I was like, yes, the fraction tiles were my absolute favorite. I took them and organized them into basically all of the halves, all of the thirds, all of the fourths, all in their individual packets, so that I wasn't confined by just 4/4 or 3/3. Yes, yes, yes. Concrete manipulatives. Awesome. Some from Canvas. Thank you for your participation, y'all. Perfect. Okay, so Mathagon, I've actually heard of that one. That's great. Open Up has resources. That's wonderful. Okay, great. And so I mean, I love using concrete manipulatives, but I want to just really hone in on the use cases of virtual, because I think it is such an awesome kind of bridge from concrete to pictorial understanding, right? So sometimes when we, have our students playing around with fraction tiles and then giving them a task where they can actually use those fraction tiles to solve problems, it can be hard to make that transfer to being able to draw a fraction tile to solve a problem. So I think virtual manipulatives are this perfect kind of in between to scaffold students' ability to use picture models of that model. Now, amazing, perfect. So I'm going to introduce you to the virtual manipulatives that we have here in Nearpod Math. Of course, you know the use cases. They allow students to investigate and to really take an abstract concept and concretize that, right? It is such an important thing for interest that promotes active involvement. It is such a key component of math instruction. And I love to marry the actual visual instruction with verbal models, with picture models, with so many additional models that we can get students to think so flexibly. Now, here are the virtual manipulatives that we have available in Nearpod Math. So what we're going to do is we're going to explore these a little bit at a time here. So what we have here is our base 10 blocks. And I am just absolutely obsessed with these base 10 blocks. This problem here you can see is a division problem. And so you're probably like, base 10 blocks for division? This is my favorite model to take that long division algorithm and conceptualize it. So what I've done here, you can see, is I've taken 1,232, I think it's supposed to be one, and I have went ahead and modeled that with these blocks, right? So as you can see, what I want you to do here is I want you to split this into two different groups, right? Just by making one straight line across. Here's group one, and here is the second group. Now, what you're going to see is just how I might use these blocks to help justify that long division algorithm. And this is my favorite. So you can see here that we take that 1,000 and we're trying to divide that into two groups, right? But there's not fair shares happening here. So what we would do is we would take that block, press that middle button, and decompose it in real time into 10/100s. So you can see that in Nearpod Math, you can actually decompose the blocks. Then you can start to sort them into fair shares. So you can see here we're basically really honing in on dividing up the place values into fair shares per place value, right? And then of course, when we aren't able to divide into fair shares, taking that block and decomposing it in real time. So these blocks are just amazing in that they decompose, but I also encourage you to select all of those ones and then press that middle button to explore composition, right? So you can see that the more efficient package will be created. And I'm just going to toggle over to teacher here and see all of your thinking in real time, right? One of the beautiful parts of this is that we're not sprinting around the room trying to get our eyes on our students' workspaces. If, for example, they have concrete base 10 blocks, it's a little bit hard to navigate that. An elbow in one direction can send the problem flying and you're missing that snapshot. Another thing that's so amazing about this is that I get to see the evolution, right? I don't get to see that worksheet that they've turned in where I'm just seeing that end product, right? That one moment in time. I am watching, a student decide what they're doing first. And if they're self-correcting, I'm watching that, right? And I'm seeing each canvas update in real time. So I hope that if you didn't know what Nearpod was in the beginning, you're starting to see what that is, right? By watching all of that real-time data come in. Okay, I'm going to go ahead on to the next slide. You can see here that these are some of our color tiles, right? So you can see that these are going to be, some really useful for a ton of different reasons. One being tape diagrams, right? We can create like a 2:3 ratio model with a whole lot of ease. We can create histograms, which I wanted to show here. We can work with lines of symmetry, which I wanted to quickly model, right? So I just want to kind of use this space to show all of the different ways that you can think about, using these in your classroom, from symmetry to area and perimeter to, again, ratio models to bar graphs and so forth. I encourage you, if you see any other use cases, please do put that in the chat. But I just wanted to kind of get like a bit of a collage board here of all the materials that you might be able to use these color tiles with. Awesome. All right, moving forward, just to keep us on track. These are our fraction tiles. So you'll see that these fraction tiles are super easy to use for even our youngest learners. You can kind of drag that 1/4 in and it will snap right into place. You'll see that they kind of like magnetize a bit. So if you're having students use these, you can also see that there's an infinite amount, right? And we're not kind of like stifled by the baggies of fraction tiles only having 4/4, right? Only having 8/8. We can really use these to build mixed numbers and have a lot more flexibility when we have that option. Of course, in Nearpod, you get that real-time data, but there's also modeling that we can do with different student work. So Danielle, I hope you don't mind if I pick on you, but as you can see on my shared screen, I'm looking at Danielle's work in real time, but this button is literally I'm so excited by the potential of discourse just by clicking this button. So notice that when I click share with the class, we're all now, your Nearpod, your work stops, and now you're all looking at Danielle's work, right? So you're seeing Danielle continue to drag in blocks. If she chooses to write with a pen or, write a text box, we're seeing that too. So essentially we're seeing that student's workspace update in real time, right? And I can get, eyes on so much work. So I can share Danielle's work and then I can pop over to another student's work. Sarah, I hope you don't mind me picking on you, right? And I can have students, look at all of their classmates' work in real time, right? And if I didn't want to show names, no worries. I can go ahead and turn that eyeball off, and now we don't know whose work this is, right? So it's really nice that you can kind of go ahead and pivot, right? If you're showing an exemplar, maybe you do want the student's name to be shown because you're like, let's look at how awesome Sarah's doing. Or maybe if you're showing your favorite mistake, which was an awesome thing to do, to kind of point out how mistakes can be really important to help us learn. That can be another use case, or just to have that student talk through their thinking. There's so many use cases here of showing that work in real time. Okay, and then I'm going to show y'all my personal favorite. I was a 6th grade teacher and I just was obsessed with these algebra tiles. So just notice here, as we're bringing in these X's, what I want you to do is I want you to go ahead and take a block, any block, right? And drag it over its additive inverse, right? So if you're seeing on my screen, I'm going to drag that -X over the X and check out what happens. This disappearing 0 pair is created in real time, and the student can literally watch that 0 disappear, right? So it is such a cool, tangible, concrete way to show how to manipulate additive inverses to create 0, right? My students had such a hard time as they were first starting to balance equations, right, in 6th grade. They were also so new to integers. And so there was just so many mistakes to be made there because that knowledge was so fresh. And so this concrete look as to, how that X and that -X relate, how that 1 and that -1 relate can really be so, so useful. Awesome. Okay, so just to recap, I'm going to go back into Nearpod, right, just to show you around a little bit. These virtual manipulatives are available exclusively in our Nearpod Math program. So let me just, I got a question about this too. Perfect. So these are going to be, the virtual manipulatives are exclusive to our Nearpod Math program. So what that means is if you're really interested and you're like, these are awesome, I have to have them, which is what I thought when I saw them, you can let us know at the end of today, and we are happy to get you a trial so that you can play around and explore, right? Because these are obviously, as you can guys tell, a game changer. Now, another thing that you get when you are in Nearpod Math is the ability to create your own, right? So when I go into my lessons and I'm creating something new in Nearpod Math, I'm going to be able to see with that Nearpod Math subscription, this option here, Math Manipulatives. So this is turned on for our Nearpod Math users, right? An exclusive add-on. Now, what is cool about this is that, you guys get to create your own. So if you wanted to create your own base 10 block experience, you get to do that from here. You get to decide if the labels are on or off, which I used to always love to redefine the whole and then have students kind of adjust. What is the 10th? What is 10? What is the 100th? What is 100? And so you can do that. You can adjust the size, and really cool here, you can add your own backgrounds. So you can add decimal backgrounds, whole number backgrounds, and then kind of introduce more or less of the place values and add this really nice scaffold that includes the colors and the images. So my point being that this is a really nice tool. These virtual manipulatives are amazing tools. And I'd love to kind of make sure that y'all can get your hands on these. But the way you would do that is to let us know at the end if you'd like a trial. But again, just to recap, here are those 4 virtual manipulatives in action, moving. When I look at this screen for too long, I get a headache, so I won't subject y'all to that. Because not only did I want to talk about these virtual manipulatives, I also wanted to talk about simulations. So I have this other poll here. Have y'all used GeoGebra before? Just answer here. I have not. I have sometimes. I always use it. I'd love to hear via the poll if you have or not. Okay, sometimes. I'm seeing some folks. Oh, cool. So some people do all the time. Perfect. Okay, so if you have not yet used it, I think you're going to fall in love with it today. It's another great virtual manipulative approach. So essentially what it is it's dynamic geometry software. So you can see in this GIF here that this is one that my students used all the time when we were learning about nets. They would kind of explore the different nets. And there was one that was so cool because it brought like not only prisms, but some of those really cool complex 3D shapes. And they would just drag a little icon over and that shape would open up and show the net in that real simulation time. And it was just so cool. Not only that, my students loved exploring the circumference of a circle with these simulations, dragging that icon over and watching the circumference open up in real time is just such an awesome way to concretize those abstract concepts. So we have in our Nearpod Math resources these GeoGebra tools. So I've just put in the next couple slides here. I put in a couple links. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on student paced mode for y'all. And student paced mode means that you can work on your own time. So I'm going to make 14 through 17 student paced so that you can explore the elementary and the middle school materials in GeoGebra. And then as you can see here, so here's some elementary school materials. The next slide are some middle school materials. And then that final slide that you can toggle to, that's a collaborate board if you have any questions. So I would love to kind of have y'all just click around, think about what you're currently teaching, and just click around and see what's there, because there is just a ton of simulations waiting to be discovered here in GeoGebra. Now, I never really was able to master GeoGebra myself, but there are editing, that you can do in GeoGebra. Like if you actually went to the website, you could just click GeoGebra, click in. And then what I do is I go into classroom resources, right? So you would just click into classroom resources and then there's a ton here, right? So you would be able to search up top. So for example, circumference, and I could see all of the simulations here that all the teachers have made and uploaded to GeoGebra. But one thing that's great about Nearpod Math is that these resources are embedded into our lessons, right? So when we have a Nearpod Math lesson on circumference, we have already went into GeoGebra. We've already found that amazing simulation and we've embedded it in. And we have designed questions and activities around that simulation. So we have not only those virtual manipulatives, but our lessons are chock full of these awesome simulations. And I'd love to know, look at these, if y'all have found any that you like. Even the probability ones are awesome too, just by giving students access to a couple different types of spinners to, in this case, you can think about like fair games, not fair games.
Brittany, just quickly, you got
Yeah.
5 more minutes. Just 5 more
Thank you
minutes.
so much.
Sure.
Perfect. Okay, great. So there is just a ton here to explore, and don't worry, everything that you see here today, we will send out in a follow-up email. So we'll share the presentation with y'all so you can have access to those manipulatives and these simulations, and you can refer back to that. But yeah, so let's stop there. We have 5 minutes. Let me go ahead to the collaborate board. And once I'm on this collaborate board, I'm going to go ahead and turn off student paced mode. So notice you're all going to kick back here with me. Are there any questions, feedback, anything that you want to know before I kind of leave you with this Google form by which you can let us know if you're interested in the trial? You can just also come off mute. We're a small enough group that you can ask there too. Thank you. Okay, so what I'm going to do next, I'm going to toggle to this next slide, and this is a Google form. If you would like a trial of Nearpod Math, all you have to do is put in your email, your name, right, your role, your district, and then let us know, right? So I would love to, meet and set up a time for a trial. So, I have a lot of availability on Friday morning, and we can get this going for you so that you get access to not only those manipulatives, but all of the other amazing stuff in Nearpod Math, which are the lessons, the activities, the games, and so forth. So all it takes is you just filling out this form. We want you to try, and we want your feedback. So Nearpod Math is brand new, and I really appreciate you spending this first session with us to learn about, some of the really cool tools that exist in this program. All right, Danielle, do you have anything to add before we have to let everyone go?
No, but
Okay.
thank you all so much for joining us, and please do fill out that form, and I will be in touch with you all once I get all the responses and can go through them.
Thank you, Brittany and Danielle. We have 3 more minutes, so people can still hang out and ask you questions, but I did put in the chat box instructions for moving on to the next one. You should be able to just click on breakout rooms. You might have to click on the 3-dot more button, and there you'll see breakout rooms, and they should pop up, and you should have the ability to just click on another breakout room. And I put a link to the spreadsheet that has what's going on starting at 6:10. So there is still 7 minutes if you wanted to hang out here, or even maybe join the next room that you want to go to, and then run and take a break if you need one.
Perfect. Thank you, Omar. Thank you so much, y'all.
I'm going to stop the recording.
Okay, cool.